So let's make one of my favorites. I don't know whether it's really my favorite to make, but it's definitely a fan favorite. Before Christmas, let's make a Santa frog. And my Santa frogs sit on a light bulb because, I don't know, it's fairly easy to make. So I'm starting out, this might surprise you, I'm starting out with a clear rod. And because when I want to use a transparent color, let's say I'm going to use a transparent red, and I make the entire light bulb out of transparent red, it's going to be very, very dark. And that's the same with pretty much all of the transparent colors. So I'm going to make a clear core. I just have to be careful with my naming here. So let's say I make the whole thing like an inch or like an inch thick. And you know, if you want a thicker light bulb, then you add just another layer. As far as the shape of the light bulb, you really want to do some research there, because there are some light bulbs, like the one that I'm just making, that has more of, you know, more mass on the bottom, but there are also light bulbs that have more mass on the top. So basically you can't go wrong. So here I have a transparent red, and I'm trying to put the camera a little bit closer when I'm working on the Santa frog. I always have to be careful with the heat that the torch throws off. Okay, so now I'm just making just basically one layer, 1.5 or so of transparent glass. There I left I don't know whether you can see that, I kind of have basically a gap there that I'm going to close. So I'm taper down to the right, and you know, once you have the Santa frog on there, nobody will see anything wrong in any way with your light bulb. It's about the frog. It's not so much about the light bulb, unless you want to make just light bulbs, no stupid frogs on them. And then you can use the same technique. So I'm gonna close this gap here, give a little bit of heat, and push it together. You could also use tweezers for that. And there's a little bit of a gap on the right. And you see at this point, this looks kind of like a striped hyena rather than a light bulb, because you know probably from experience that the striking colors are not always, you know, they don't always strike immediately. So I don't really worry about this. I just let it be what it is, and shape the right. I want the right side definitely a little bit skinnier, and the rest I'll just shape with gravity. So, see how it's starting to get darker? So by the time we're done, you know, we're going to go in and out of the flame, let it cool off. Then it will definitely be a solid red. So sometimes you can use, this might not be the right thing, you can use a shaper of some sort to shape the bottom there, or you can just use gravity. As I said, this is not all that super exciting, and it doesn't matter all that much. I just want to get this a little bit narrower there. Ooh, there's something on my... And I also don't make my light bulbs as skinny as they can be, because you want to have some room for your frog to sit. So what I'm going to do, this is, I think, a Chronos or something. This is some double helix color. Basically, I just want something metallic on top, so I'm adding it just a little bit to the light bulb itself, but mostly onto the mandrel. And that is your... and I always stumble at this point. because I don't know what you call that in English, that part that goes into the into the ceiling. So just heat that and kind of shape it straight. You can prepare some stringer for this and add stringer later on. Okay, so this is a very fat light bulb, but this is, as I said, you get the idea. So now I'm gonna put the camera a little bit closer so you can see better. All right, so for the frog, I'm gonna make the frog is only going to have a red coat. He's gonna have green legs. I mean, you could make him trousers, but then at some point it doesn't look like a frog anymore. So I'm just gonna do what we've always done here, you know, heat the leg, start on the bottom. So I'm trying to make the frog a little bit smaller, but okay, so heat the stringer, lay it out there and pull up. I probably don't have to even tell you guys anymore what we do at this point, but as I said earlier, I cannot make beads and not talk about it. So heat, touch, pull down. I don't know how often I have done, oops, my stringer just broke off. But by now you probably have done this as many times as I have. So since my stringer broke off there, I heat it a little bit and pull it away. Sometimes the stringer, the mandrel is just in the way, but you know, you could make this off mandrel. And you show me how that works out. So I heat, touch to the knee, pull down, and there we go. Oh, this is a really bad leg, so I'm pulling some of this glass up. Again, by now you will have figured out that if something goes wrong, it's no problem, you can fix it. So I'm using a relatively fine stringer to do this. Always keep the top hot. So fine stringer, we're gonna make this a little bit smaller than all the other frogs that we made. And I don't know whether there is a what's that, the Guinness Book of Records as far as frogs, lamp-worked frogs, but I think I will challenge anybody. I think I would hold the record. Maybe you could do a little contest once we're done here. So, make the toes. And I'm actually looking forward of making these for Christmas. I have about 20 of those in me before I get like completely and utterly bored with it. So, and then the question is, what other things could you put, oops, a little long, what other things could you put your Santa frog on? You know, I'm very open for suggestions, and I'm sure that you guys come up with all kinds of ideas. I would say one thing that probably doesn't work is a candy cane. It could be a little hard to get your frog on that. All right, so we've got the legs, gonna make the fingers, and if you want to put the stringer on that little metallic thing there, then make sure that your fingers don't touch the straight piece of glass. I'm not gonna bother with it, but so, and here I don't know how the lighting is here. I changed my situation a little bit different here. Put different lights up. Whenever you place your finger, make sure that you don't overheat the legs, because you can see that right now, that one there, and you have to fix those legs, but you might as well put your fingers on first, because every time you heat the bead to place the fingers, you will get some extra heat on the knees. And sometimes all it takes is a little stroke with the magic wand to prevent it from getting any hotter. So you're not really shaping that, sure, but you know, you're just preventing it from getting hotter. So heat that finger, and this is going to be difficult to compare when you don't see the beads next to each other, but this frog is very, very, very small. Okay, so thumb, all right, heat. Always, basically, you're always working in a rhythm. You apply one thing, turn and heat, apply one thing, turn and heat. If you keep that in mind, you should be fine, unless you have aliens in your studio that make your bead crack. Okay, that thumb here is a little bit around the corner, as you can see, but that's not a big deal, because you can just put your head, let your head flop on that. Okay, so now this is the difference. Instead of using a green rod and making a green body, I'm using a red, which is kind of Santa adequate, I think. And you don't need to have quite as much glass, because we're not making the head out of this red. So I'm plopping the red down there, pushing it down, then I pull that red up to where you think your head is gonna end. So this would be looks like a headless rider, and you can heat that a little bit, you know, push it down a little bit. Okay, so as far as the Santa costume, this is a little bit boring at this point. So what I do is I take the red and kind of just stripe, and you can go over the legs, and I'm making, depending on the size of the frog, make two or three really juicy swipes downwards, and add a little bit more, and now it looks more like a coat. So it's a little bit hard to see because this is black, of course, and make sure that everything is melted into each other nicely. And if you wanted to have a little bit, you know, kind of movement to the coat, so you can go down there and pull the glass out a little bit. So of course you can look at Santa costumes, but we want to have a nice variety of red and white. So what I do is I take a white stringer, and you can just kind of make a very uneven application of the stringer, almost like a zigzag, like that. Or what you can do is you can place uneven dots and swipe them down a little bit. So that's the what do they call that white fur that Santa has? Mink? Rabbit? Reindeer? Reindeer that didn't behave? Alright, so that is that. And now, as far as the arms, I would suggest to make red arms, because we want him to have a real Santa costume. So place the arms there, just as always. Blend them in. The red is not that easy to blend. Okay, so heat the hand. Pull it up. Alright. I just have to remind myself not to let myself go down and down and down, because I work very, very close to the flame typically. So now I take the same stringer, white stringer, And this is something, you know, whatever you want to do this. So I make like little white trim, you know, and you can do the same. The easiest is really to make a few small stringer like that. So I know in German this is called, if Andrea is out there, this is called hermelin. So that doesn't give you any useful information, but it's a type of mink, I think. So I just put that, and you can, you know, look at down here. There's a lot of red left, so I just cover that up. Okay, then I make my little trim. The white trim is really great because it kind of hides the hands, so it's perfect. I think one of my favorite costume beads that I've ever made was Elvis. Yeah, sometimes I wish it would be, I would just not sell some of my beads, because I only ever made one, and he had sequins. I mean, he had like cubic zirconia in his costume. So now I'm making a blow up, heat up there, place, and because I had kind of one of those wishy-washy fingers that went in the wrong direction, so I let this time I actually wanted the head to touch the light bulb, and just kind of put some extra heat on, you know, on that area where the red and the green touch. Now we're almost done. Now I'm heating the knees, because Santa with arthritic knees is probably not a good idea. So go in there and pull out, or use your tweezers, whatever. And now I'm going to use a slightly smaller stringer to for the eyeballs, because this is a smaller frog. So I heat, and yes, as I mentioned, I'm not sure in which order I'm going to show you this, but we have the bunny frog. And the idea for me is, whenever I have something in a costume, I kind of have the eye blobs half on the green and half on the color of the costumes. Just, you know, no particular reason. All right, there are the eyes. Now, almost done. I'm taking a white stringer. This could be thicker than that. So, taking a thick white stringer and rotate everything. And so, placing a really big dot right behind the eyes, but I'm making sure that I'm touching the red, the coat. So this is kind of, so this is like the mink for the hat. So I'm building this hat from the bottom up. So there's, and then you can take the same red as the coat, or you can make something else, but I typically go very you know, old-fashioned. So then I heat that white and heat the red, and I'm letting the red fall onto the white and let it sit a little bit, and then I go back kind of underneath the heat and pull it out, and that is sort of a Santa hat. It's a little bit straight up. So if you don't like the shape, just give it some heat and push it in the direction that you want it. Or you can take tweezers and move it. So this is just more of a, like, how to, you you know, how to move glass or how to make glass go where you want it to go. So it's a little blobby on the bottom. So keep it warm. All we have to do now is just decorate this hat thing a little bit. So put a little itty bitty white blob on the bottom. Okay, just like that. Wherever you end up when you place this, really. And now we need eyes, and we're done. So, when you make something with the costume, oops, you know, where you play or when you place the eyes, this is up to you. Just kind of observe what happens when you place a hat on something, or hair, or so. Just don't forget to tap your eyes down. I tapped it down a little bit too much. And there is your Santa frog. Merry Christmas.